Okay, it looks like Zoom has let everyone in that was waiting, and it is 5:30, so we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome back to the NNP Symposium. This is our very last presentation for this event. So thank you everyone who's stuck with us this long and still tuning in. It's very much appreciated. We are here this time with Will Cadence, who will be talking about the Kennedys, not the Klan, but the coins. So it should be a good presentation. Remember, we will be doing a Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions, you can send them in at any point just by clicking that Q&A button on your screen. And any that are in there, we will pull up at the end of the presentation. So without further ado, Will, I will let you take it away. I'm going to turn my camera off, but I'll be here if you need any assistance throughout the presentation.
All right. Well, thank you, Liana. I appreciate the opportunity to do this. And I'd like to welcome everybody to this session. And if I do my job properly, then Liana will have saved the best till last. So let's begin, and we're going to talk about Kennedy coins today. But before we jump into it, I want to take you back a little bit because there's something relevant to what happened about a year ago that's going to play today. And that is at the NNP Symposium a year ago, I made a presentation on the Proof Walking Liberty $half series. And I mentioned at that time that I felt those coins were way undervalued considering the rarity of those coins. And the Proof series ran from 1936 to 1942. So it was only 7 years. But I want to show you something here right now. And this is taken from the PCGS price guide, the most recent one that I have. And it covers that 7-year period of proof coinage of the Walking Liberty $half. And the arrow is pointing at the grades from 63 over to 69. I couldn't get the whole page on here with enough definition to see what I'm going to point out here. But a year ago, I mentioned that if you bought those coins that I have circled there in the middle, the one that proof 64 and the others at proof 65, that you could acquire those coins at retail for under $5,000. Well, as of last month, that same series of coins would cost you $5,810. That's an 18% increase, which is pretty dramatic for 1 year. But what's even more dramatic is you notice those little green triangles. What that indicates is that the value of that coin, the price of that coin in that condition, whether it be proof 65, 66, 67, 68, all of those coins have increased. And you will notice that every single coin from proof 65 all the way up to proof 68 has increased in value. That's amazing. You will not find that anywhere else in the price guide. Those coins have taken off with one exception, and that's proof 69 in the 1942 coin. There's only less than a handful of those in existence, and those are 75,000. And since those haven't traded, those stayed static. And you probably might see one of those traded every 10 years or so. So you may be saying to yourself, oh, maybe I missed the train on those proof coins. You have not missed the train on those coins. They're still way undervalued. So you might want to go back and take a look at that presentation. I think Liana has it in the archives, which will show you how to choose the coins, because that's supremely important when you're talking about proof walkers, because there are some terrible coins out there that have pretty high grades that just amaze me. But why does that apply now? Because I'm going to do the same thing that we did, except it's going to be a little different with the Kennedy coins. Now, the Kennedy coins have been produced for a lot longer than the 7 years that we talked about with the walkers. In fact, it started in 1964 and has continued to the present day. So our approach now is going to be to look for the coins in that series that offer considerable value as both a collector and an investment source. Now, a little bit of history. The President Kennedy was assassinated on Friday, November 22nd, 1963. And his funeral was held 3 days later on Monday, the 25th. And then right after that, the Mint Director, Ava Adams, and the Treasury got with the Kennedy family and to talk about the creation of a new coin to honor his memory. They offered the $50, the quarter, and the nickel. And Jackie Kennedy looked at that choice, and she selected the $50, ostensibly because Benjamin Franklin wasn't a president, and she didn't want to displace either Washington or Jefferson. So that happened, right after the burial on Monday. And on November 27th, Eva Adams, the current mint director, telephoned the engravers and told them to get with it and begin designing a new $50 coin. And the chief engraver, Gilroy Roberts, was tasked with doing the heads up portion, the obverse. And there's a plaster relief model that he's working on. He used the presidential medal that was created during the inauguration of Kennedy back when he took office as the basis for the design that you can see that he's putting on that plaster model there. So he got busy with that, and his marching orders were to really get after it and let's get this thing done, because they wanted it in production in 1964, which was a little over a month away. So they broke up the task between Gilroy Roberts and the assistant engraver, Frank Aspero, who was tasked with doing the reverse. Now the reverse, they decided on the presidential seal with some clouds above it and some rays going through, with the United States of America and $50 surrounding it. So he got to work on that. By December 20th, LBJ signed the order to produce these coins, and they had to go get congressional approval because the Franklin $50 had only been in production since 1948, and normally you need 25 years before you consider changing a design. But that got pushed through, and off and running we went. However, in the rush, you got this kind of thing. You want it fast, cheap, or good. And they went for fast and cheap. And I'll talk about the cheap in a minute, but we'll talk with the fast. Good old Gilroy, he was tasked, as I mentioned, with the obverse. And if you look at the I in the Liberty here on the Kennedy, it has a serif at the bottom. He got the serif right on the right-hand side, but on the left-hand side, he didn't get it. It came up short. When they redesigned it sometime later, he fixed that, and it looks like what you see down here. Another thing that happened in the rush, and this is where things got cheap, is in the production process. When a planchet is prepared for coining, one of the things they do is they run it through a soap chemical solution to clean off all the impurities that might be on that surface of the future coin, so that it doesn't go into the press with that kind of stuff on it. Once they use the soap solution to clean it up, then it's supposed to get rinsed and then dried. But the rinsing program was totally unsuccessful. And a lot of that soap wound up on the coins. When that planchet went into the coin press, that soap got pressed with the 2 strikes that's normally taken for a proof coin into the coin. For years, people have been trying to get those milk spots out, like you see here to the right of President Kennedy's bust. But there's also tiny milk spots all the way through a lot of these coins. And you can see there's some more up here above his ear. Okay, this is a major, major problem with those first coins. But he wasn't alone in all of that. Good old Frank on the reverse, over here on the left, some of these rays are inconsistent. They stop a little short. On this one here is a little curvy. Didn't quite get that right. His initials, FG, has a little serif right about here if it's done properly, but in fact he left the serif off over on this. So those things had to be changed. But they didn't realize all of this until they had already started production. And the first thing they produced was the proof series, the proof 1964 Kennedy $50. And they started cranking those out. And Eva Adams had a sample taken over for Jackie Kennedy to have a look at. And she took the coin and she held it under the light and turned it a little bit. And as you'll notice, just above the ears here, you can see how in the right kind of lighting, it highlights those particular hairs. And she saw that and she felt that that was a distraction. And she thought that maybe they could mute that somehow and make it look a little different. And of course, Eva Adams and company said, well, certainly no problem. So the meeting ended and they came right out and Eva says, stop production, stop production. And they stopped production of these proof coins. But nobody took the time to determine how many of those had already been made. And estimates vary from 40,000 to 120,000 coins before they came to an abrupt halt. That makes it a rare coin in and of itself. But then when you consider the milk spot problem, it changes it all. I would venture to say that if there are 100,000 1964 accented hair Kennedys out there, that maybe 2,000 or 3,000 do not have milk spots. And those are rare coins. So we're looking here at a proof 69 cameo. There have been 56 of those coins graded by the two major coin grading companies, NGC and PCGS, 56. Some of those coins have been crossed. In other words, a collector tried to get it graded by the same company that he has his other coins graded in. And so you don't really actually have that many out there. I would estimate there are less than 50. Will they find a few more in the years to come? Sure, but they're not going to find very many because there's not very many out there that don't have the milk spots. Okay, this particular coin that you're looking at here, if you look at the PCGS price guide, it retailed at $5,000. I want to tell you right now, if you can find one of these coins for $5,000, you ought to jump on it, because that coin is going to double and triple, and it's going to be a six-figure coin, maybe not in my lifetime, but in most of the viewers' lifetime. So that's one of the coins you want to consider. And we're going to consider certain prices all the way through this, from a few $100 right up $5,000 is the priciest coin I think we're going to talk about today. But if you're looking for investment, or you're looking for something that you might want to use as a gift for a graduate, and you can come across one of these coins, that's what you want to get. Okay, so they went back and they redesigned the coin, and I'm just going to show you the obverse here. The one on the left is the accented hair, and you can see where the arrow is, how it's highlighted. And the one on the right, they've muted it down. And they fixed the syrup over here, and they fixed the things on the back. But once they got all that done, they went a bit crazy. They produced 3.9 million proofs, most of them the second variety on the right. And the circulation issues, the ones that were being produced to go out into commerce, they produced 436 million coins, because as soon as these $half got out into the public, the people grabbed them, put them in their pocket, took them home, put them in their drawer, because everybody thought these are going to be rare, valuable, since they're the first year and Kennedy and all of that. And so as the year went on, the mint kept putting out more and more and more of these coins, to where they finally got so many coins, they almost produced as many $half in that 1 year, 64. In fact, they continued to produce them a little bit into 65, as the entire Benjamin Franklin series, which ran from 48 to 63. That's how many coins came out. And it kind of upset the mint that these coins weren't being used by the public to buy things and do that. So they got a little irritated, and they kind of blamed it on the collector community. But the entire country was a collector community. They were all hoarding these coins. So towards the end of 64, they made an experiment. They weren't going to put any proof coins out for a while, and they're going to get this thing back under control. So they experimented with what's called a special mint set. And we'll talk about that in a minute. And they produced about 10 or 15 of those in late 1964. as experiments. And at this point, 11 of those have somehow snuck their way out of the mint. Those coins are megabucks. They're not something we're going to talk about today. If you find one, great, but don't hold your breath. Okay, so what do you want to look for? Here's a quote from Rick Tomaska. He's a coin expert, noted author, and he claims the extended hair 1964 Kennedy is one of the most significant half-dollar die varieties in U.S. coinage. And I agree with that because of the low number that really exists out there. Now, I show two coins here. The one on the left has been graded by ANAX. They were the first company to encapsulate coins. And I saw this coin and I bought it from a dealer for $400 because it was clean. It had no milk spots on it. I took it to a coin show about a year later and I sold it to a dealer for $1,100. But I'm here to tell you that's a super coin that he got, and he sold it at a profit. He told me sometime later. That's the kind of thing you want to look for. They're out there if you can find them, but you got to know what you're looking for, and you got to understand the milk spot problem, and you need a loop to see if there's any of those micro milk spots in there as well. The coin on the right is a 1964 extended hair half-dollar in proof 68. Now that's a brilliant proof. It has no cameo. It's a great coin. It goes for about $500. And if you can find one at that kind of money, I would recommend you go ahead and get it. So that's kind of the stuff that we're going to be talking about here as we go along. A big price variation, but it all depends on your budget and what you're trying to do. Okay, and here's the big deal. This is the 100-year silver price. It's the average annual silver price for the last 100 years in US dollars. Now, a little history. Back in 1918, they had what's called the Pittman Act. And the US government decided they had all these Morgan silver dollars sitting in vaults all over the country that they produced during the silver rush back in the later part of the 19th century. And World War I was going on, and we were trying to help Britain. So they decided to melt these down. They actually melted down 67,558 cubic feet of silver bullion. So a whole bunch of those Morgan silver dollars disappeared into the vat. And some of those came out of vaults where the majority of that year's production was just sitting there. It had never been released to the public. So there are certain coins in that series that, even though they may show on paper that there were millions of them produced, you can't find any of them. And those coins have big dollar numbers beside them. Well, in the case of the Kennedy half-dollar, we also have our version of the Pittman Act, and that's what's shown here. Back in the early 1980s, the silver price rose up. Now you'll notice there it peaked above $20. That's for the year. And in 2012, 2013, that time frame, it peaked above $30. During both of those periods, at times during the year, the price of an ounce of silver was well above $40. And when that happened, something else happened. Everybody went in the drawer, pulled out all those Kennedy half-dollars they had they'd saved all over these years, took one look at them and realized that 50-cent piece was now worth 20 bucks if you went down to a coin dealer and got the bullion price for it. And I got to tell you, a bunch of them have been melted down. So again, we talked about the extended hair Kennedy, a lot of those went in the melting pot. So that 2000 coin thing that I mentioned, that may be high, but all of the coins during the silver period up to 1964 went into the melting pot. We don't know yet how many. It'll take time for all of the coins to show up in a grading system and whatnot to really figure out what the rare coins are, but they're out there. And that's what we're going to talk about now, is some of those that you might want to take a peek at. Okay, so I mentioned that they tried to stem the collector tide, and they went to the special mint set business. Now, the process they used there, they didn't strike the coin twice like they do with a proof. They struck it once, but they used higher pressure. And they didn't take care of the coins in terms of the handling like they did with proofs. They dumped them into vats and they got dings on them. And then they sent them out to the collectors who ordered them. And they came in this little blue package that you see up above the coins, and you slid the plastic holder out and you had all 5 coins in there. If you looked at the coins, particularly the $10.50, you'd see nicks and scratches and abrasions on every one of them. You'll find these at coin shows. Take a look at them. If you find one that's a really clean coin, might be a good idea to buy it, but you're probably not going to find that. Anytime the coin has cameo effect or no abrasions, they're cracked out and sent into the grading services. So I don't recommend you go looking for these things, but you might take a peek at them at a coin show if you want. What you want to do, however, is this. You want to go find these coins. And these are 1965, 6 and 7 special mint set coins. Let's talk with the one on the left, the 1965. That's the rarest one of all. That particular coin is valued in the price guide at $2,500 because they're pretty rare. There are no 69 cameos. There are no MS68 ultra cameos. That's the top grade right now, which is why it's at $2,500. If you can find one in cameo with a nice mirrored field behind it like that coin, grab it for that kind of money. The 1966 MS68 cameo, you can get that now for $550. Now there is a higher grade MS68 ultra cameo. That coin is $7,000. So you go from $550 to $7,000. That's a huge gap, and it'll close. It'll close. These coins will increase in value, absolutely guaranteed. The same is true of the 1967 coin. That coin you can get on, the internet through eBay or whatnot for around $450. An MS68 cameo. Grab it if you can find it. It's a great coin. Again, there is a higher grade, the deep cameo or the ultra cameo, and that coin is valued at $5,000. So again, there's a big gap between the 68 and the 68 cameo and the 68D cameo of $450 to $5,000. That gap will close. There are no 69s, there are no 70s in this case. So those are 3 coins that are perfect, and they're really good buys if you can find them. Okay. Then there's some varieties that show up. The first one we'll talk about is the 1966 SMS No FG. Poor Frank, his initials there between the eagle's leg and the tail feathers. At some point, an overzealous mint employee was repolishing the dies, and he slipped that polishing tool between the leg there and basically erased the initials of the designer. That particular coin is worth about $2,500 if you can find it. It's a proof 67. There's one higher in proof 68. So you only got one coin higher than that particular coin you're looking at there. I think the same mint employee had too many martinis during lunch in 1972 because the same thing happened in that year. And you've got some no FG coins there, and the prices are similar to what you see here. So if you can find one of those at those kind of money, grab it, is my advice. And in 1967, they came up with another little quirk here. And this variety is called a QDO. That's a quad doubled obverse. That means in the die process, and it's a 2-beer story how they screw that up. The die manufacturing shifted a little bit, and you got, in this case, 4 different movements of the item while they were trying to make that die. And then when they made the coins, that movement appears on the coins. In the case of this particular coin, it appears on the T in Liberty. Now, I photographed that coin, and my camera, my iPhone camera, did a really good job. You can see all 4 lines on it, but when I transferred it to the computer, no matter how many times I did it, you can't really see. But I guarantee you right here, if you take a loop, you can see those 4 little lines there. Now, quadruple double die, that's an odd coin. You don't see those very often, and it's hard to spot. So if you go to a coin show and you see an MS67 that doesn't have this, take a peek at that T and see if it's a quadruple, because it's worth a couple $100 more than otherwise, and you might score a nice little coup there, because a lot of the dealers, they don't look at that, they don't see it, because they're trying to be experts in all the coins that they have, and they just tend to miss things. And if you send it to the grading service and you don't ask them to look for the variety, it'll just come back as a straight 67 SMS in the MS67. So that's kind of the fun thing to do at coin shows, is to try to find something that nobody else has spotted. And then you kind of reward yourself with that find. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is talk about the last of the coins that had some amount of silver in them, and that's the 68, 69, and 70 candies. Now, these had 40% silver in them, and they too are good coins to have for the long term, and they're way underpriced right now. This 68 on the left here, that value right now is $200 in proof 69. There is a proof 70, and that price is out at $15,500. So you're going from $200 to $15,000. Again, those numbers are going to collapse towards each other. The proof 69, the 1969 proof 69 retails right now at $185, and the proof 70 retails at $325. And there is no proof 70 in the 1970 version, so that's top pop at $325. Again, if you can find these coins on eBay or wherever at those prices, my advice to you would be to grab them and hang on to them and watch them take off as time goes by. Okay, the next thing you can do is take a look at the mintages. Now, to do that, you want to get yourself a red book, and you can look in there and see they list how many coins were produced each year, and take a peek at that, and look for the ones that seem to have lower production. Remember, a lot of these coins were melted, not these in particular because they don't have any silver in them, but some of the other ones. We have 1970D in MS68. This is an MS66, but in MS68, it's a $5,500 coin. So this coin here is listed as $300 now in terms of the price values, and it's a bargain at $300, a real bargain. So take a look for those. The 1982, they only produced 10 million of these. That may sound like a lot, but if you compare it to some of the other coinages, it's way low. So take a look at the 1982, and if you can find those, see what you can come up with. By the way, if you find one in MS67, that's a $5,500 coin. That's 2 grades above this one. The 87P is another low mintage coin, the P's and the D's. Again, those coins, only 2.9 million of those were made because those were in min sets only, and that's the same true of the 1970s. So they only produced a couple of million of these in total. So that makes them rare regardless. Those are rare coins. So keep an eyeball out for those. If you find a nice clean one, grab it. Okay, and then there's all of the mint errors. There are collectors that love to have these things. And I picked this coin out for a specific reason. This is an obverse and reverse die cracks. The die got too worn, and it shattered a little bit and creates this little line, as you can see above the in and the ingot, and then it stretches out across here. And it's kind of a curiosity, but I put this in here for a reason. This is the kind of coin you really don't want to go chase after. Why? because of the eye appeal. You see these stains up in here by the ear and all of that. That's the kind of thing you just don't want. So anytime I'm talking about these coins, that's what you want to be really, really careful about. Some of them are really overgraded considering the eye appeal. And the grading services have a tough time with stains like milk spots. You'll see milk spot Kennedy accented hair coins graded proof 66, and they'll have a bunch of milk spots in them. You won't see them at the proof 68 level, but you will see them at 66 and 67 because they don't quite know how to deal with it. I mean, if it's really bad, then they won't grade the coin. But if it's just some of it there, they'll let it go. If it's a nice strike and the fields have good mirrors in them. Okay, so again, eye appeal, eye appeal, eye appeal. Same applies to those walkers that I talked about if you go back and research those. Okay, let's jump ahead now to 2014. Now that's the 50th anniversary of the production of the Kennedy half dollar. And so the mint went a little crazy. They put out a whole bunch of things to celebrate it. And this is one of them, a 4-coin set that came in a box, and then you slid the holders out and it opened up and it had a nice little description at the bottom. And of the 4 coins, the one on the far left there is called a reverse proof. And it was produced at the West Point Mint. I don't like the term reverse proof. I prefer proof negative, like with photography. It makes more sense to me. But anyway, they call them reverse proofs because the devices are brilliant and the fields are cameo. Okay, and then the next coin to its immediate right is the proof coin, and that was produced at the Philadelphia Mint, and that's an ultra cameo version of it there. The third coin was produced in San Francisco. It's called an enhanced uncirculated, and that's similar to the special mint set coins that we talked about earlier from 1965 to 67. Notice, however, that the cameo effect on that coin is more distinct than it is on the proof coin to its immediate left, although the fields, the mirrored fields, aren't quite as deep. An interesting little quirk there that happens apparently. And then the far right, we have the uncirculated coin that was produced at the Denver Mint. So we had 4 mints involved in this thing. Now you go to a coin show and you'll see these sets sitting out there, and you might want to grab one. They sold from the mint for under $100, and you can get them for $150, $200, that sort of thing. But generally speaking, if a dealer has these coins, he's taken a look at them and decided that they're not nice enough to go and have them graded. And so he's willing to let them go for whatever you can get for them. So keep that in mind. What you want to do, however, is this. You want to get the coins that have been graded. So here's those same 4 coins. All right. And on the left is the West Point, and then we have the Philadelphia. Notice again here with the special mint set type thing here at the San Francisco Mint that the frosted devices are more distinct than they are in the proof version. I find that kind of odd, actually. And the coin on the right is an MS-70. You want 70s. You'll find a lot of these coins graded proof and MS-69. You do not want those. You do not want those. You want 70s. They're out there. You can get an entire set of these for $300 to $400. Buy it, put them away. At some point down the road, these are going to pick up value dramatically. Okay, they also came out with a 2-coin set. Philadelphia and Denver put out circulation half dollars in these sets. But again, they didn't take any special care. So if you see these at a coin show and you take a look, the thing opens up kind of like a book and you can see the 2 coins in there. You'll normally see contact marks and dings on them. But if you do see a clean one, you might want to consider purchasing it. So those are out there. The ones that are clean can be quite valuable. So don't, but the fact that some of them are for sale for $10 or $15 shouldn't scare you off. Take a look at the coins, have a loop, and make sure it's clean on both obverse and reverse. take it buy it, and then go have it graded, and you might be pleasantly surprised. Okay, modern proofs. So late in 1980s, early 1990s, the Mint finally broke the code on how to do proof coins, and they encapsulated them in these plastic holders that were inert, and the green stuff that they put around was such that it didn't interact with the coins to produce haze or toning. And they got it right, and they got the strikes. They perfected the technique to bring up the cameo contrast, so all the coins are coming out in ultra cameo or deep cameo, and those coins are readily available. I don't recommend that you get crazy about these because they're always going to be there, and the price of these is going to be 25, 30 bucks maybe, and if they doubled now they're 50 bucks, you can handle that. But when that $5,000 coin jumps to 10,000, that's a big deal. And so you can wait on these. Get the hard ones first, and once you have those, if you got some money left over, then you just go right ahead and pick up these. Always, 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 if you pick them up, remember, I want you to get them in proof or MS-70. Do not accept a 69. You'll have a tough time selling it down the road. They're just not going to have much value other than whatever the coin is worth. The 70s, yes, they'll hold some value. All right, grading. How do you grade a Kennedy? It's not all that simple because there's not too many things that can go wrong compared with, say, the Walking Liberty $50 that we talked about, which has plenty of places where you can see badly struck coins. What you're looking for here is dings and luster and that sort of thing. The coin on the left, the 1964, that's a silver coin. And that coin, you can see scratches in front of Kennedy's chin here, a couple here. There's also some dings on his neck, and there's a little spot, little carbon spot maybe here by his eye, a little stuff here, and out in the field, some stuff, a little toning. This coin is graded MS-62. Now you can see this very coin if you go to PCGS Photo Grade online. Just type that into your browser, and boom, this will come up. And it'll show all the coins all the way from MS-60 all the way to 70. And if you've got a bunch of Kennedys at your house that have been sitting there for years, you can pull them out and try to grade them yourself by comparing them to the images that you see on your computer. The coin on the right is a 1967, and that coin is graded MS-67. Now, notice there are no scratches that you can really see. This is a pretty clean coin, and the luster is much more prominent. There is a little toning here around the bottom, but it's not. It doesn't, eye appeal wise, it's not negative. It looks kind of nice actually, nice golden reddish toning down here. Whereas this particular coin has no attractive toning at all. So that's something else that you can do if you've got those coins that your mother, father, grandfather, or whatever has been saving in a drawer for years. Pull them out and take a look and see how they stack up. Okay, but before you go spending any money, it's like they say, buy the book before you buy the coin. These are two books that I recommend you have, in addition to the red book I mentioned earlier that gives you all the stats on all of the coins that are produced by the USA. The one on the left, that one's by Rick Tomaska, the Frank and Kennedy $50 third edition. He's got other editions. You want the third edition. The third edition brings you up in the Kennedy series to 2015, but he also includes at the back a chapter on the Walking Liberty Proof $50 series, which is one of the best sequences that I've come across in terms of discussion. So that's the one you want to track down, is the third edition. The Cherry Picker's Guide by Bill and JT, that's also a classic, and that has all of the various varieties, that some of which we talked about in it, that you can go through, and you can take it to your coin show, and as you're going through your Kennedys that somebody has in a pile there, you might pick up a variety that the coin dealer missed when he acquired the coin. So those are two. There's a couple more. This is Doc Wiles' book on the Kennedy half dollar attribution and pricing guide that you might want to get a copy of. And then you've got the cameo and brilliant proof coinage of the 50s to 70 era, again by Rick Tamaska, the author of the other book I pointed out. This is a limited edition. This is kind of a pricey book because it's a classic now. It's hard to find these for under $100, but if you find one, I recommend you get it, because inside that he has photographs of all the various levels of the cameo coinage in both the Franklin and Kennedy era. And it's another good thing to measure up your coin against in case you happen to have one of those cameos in your possession. So that's it. I don't know how we get back to the first slide, or maybe I want to go back to whatever. Here.
So go ahead and hit the red stop share button at the top of your screen.
Stop share?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
There we go. All righty. Then anyone, we are going to do the Q&A. So if you have any questions, go ahead and click on that Q&A button at the bottom of the Zoom window and send them in. In the meantime, we'll get started with what piqued your interest for the Kennedy series?
What piqued my interest with the Kennedys? I guess it was because I was at pilot training at Enid, Oklahoma, the day of the assassination. And I was getting ready to go out to fly a training mission as a student. And there on the TV came the news that he'd been shot. And it just, I think everybody that was alive at that time remembers where they were at that time. But then the coins came out. And like everybody else, I had to have them. I still have sleeves of 64 Kennedy half dollars that, you know, are in various states of grading, whatever. So that's what started that. I love half dollars. I mean, that's a thing with me. I love those Walkers. I love the Franklins, and maybe I'll do one on the Franklins one of these days. But the Kennedys, they're one of my favorite, and they're one of the most popular coins being collected today. That's why I say the values have got to they just have to go up. They have to.
Do you have your own collection? And if so, what's your favorite coin in it?
Well, yeah, I'm a collector. I mean, I sell coins, like when I mentioned those Walkers. If I get a higher grade, I buy it, and then I sell the lower grade at a profit every single time, because of what I call that cherry picking the eye appeal coins that we talked about. And I really, I don't want anybody to go out and start buying Walkers unless you look at that presentation, because you're going to get burned if you do. There's some awful ones out there that somehow got high grades. Okay, same is true of the Kennedys. You got to really look at the coin. The nice thing about eBay, when you buy coins on eBay, is you got a 30-day period when you can send them back. Now, what's my favorite coin? My favorite coin is a $2.50 gold coin that my father had. I began collecting when I was 6 years old. I came home from school with this in my hand, which I don't know that you can even see. This thing is about coin collecting, and it talked about Indian head cents with Longacre's little L there and some other coins. And my father pulled out a little box, and he had in that box a $2.50 gold, plus he had some Indian head cents, a Flying Eagle cent, and some others. He gave me all of the coins except the gold coin. And he had, because he knew. And then a few years later, our house was burglarized, and he came and said, they got those gold coins. And I was just devastated, you know. It passed, my mother and father passed away in '86. And we went to the house, my brothers and my sisters, and we went through all their stuff, and we found the coins. He had put them somewhere else and forgotten that he put them somewhere else. And when the house was burglarized, he thought they were in the original place. So that's my favorite coin.
It's a great story behind it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Why half dollars?
Well, everybody goes for the silver dollars and the gold coins and Lincoln cents. I find that the half dollars, it's just a nice coin. It's not so heavy as a silver dollar, so you can put a few of them in your pocket without feeling like you're dragging stuff around. And they have tremendous purchasing power still. I mean, a half a buck is still a half a buck. I like the size of them. It's just, and you can put a lot of detail, like in that Walker. I mean, the detail in that Walker coin is just staggering, which is why they're in the Silver Eagles to this date, which is another reason why the Walkers are going to increase in value, because as people get all of those collections put together, they're going to say, wait a minute, there's some other ones out here, those proof coins back in 36 to 42, I might as well get those too. And now I've got all the proof coins, that sort of thing. Yeah, so I just love, it's just one of those things.
Alrighty, looks like we have one more in here for right now. So if you have any last minute questions, go ahead and send those in. Until then, if I'm just starting a collection of half dollars, which series do you think has the most opportunity for increased prices? Walking Liberties, Franklin's, Kennedy's, etc.
I would go, and it's a close call, but I would go with the Walker coins, both the proofs and the circulation issues. You can get the short set of the Walker coins from 41 to 47. Yeah, 47. And it makes a nice little set. The other ones start to get pretty pricey, but you can get MS65 MS gem coins for a reasonable price for every one of those coins. And they're not going to lose their value. There are some key ones in there if you want to spend some money that you can really do well with. But I kind of like Benjamin, you know, those Benjamin Franklin ones too. So if, you know, there's so many Kennedys, there's a lot of coins involved there. It's going to take you a while. But if you're young, I would go for the Kennedys. If you're my age, go for whatever you can get. Yeah.
All right, we have one more in here. Are there any varieties of note for the 40% halves?
Any varieties in the 40%?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sure there are. I could pull out the Bill and JT book here and find them. There's just a ton of varieties out there. The Mint messed around with stuff every year, in and out, you know, and it's like I said, and that's part of the thing I think you want to do is you want to get these books and get into them and go look for coins that have those varieties. And sometimes you can find your own variety and be the first to notice it, like that quadruple thing. It's hard to see, but with a little loop, boom, it jumps right out at you if you look at that T on that thing. And Bill and JT, they'll put it in that book, and you'll have, you know, identified a coin all by yourself. So yeah, but I'd have to look to see specifically if that year has some varieties other than what I mentioned. I did mention a couple of them. Yeah.
All righty, then I think that is going to wrap us up. Thank you so much, Will, for taking the time out to put this presentation together and share with us. It was a great series to learn more about.
Yeah, and thank you, Liana. This one went a lot smoother technically than the last one, so we're getting there.
Progress. And for everyone who attended, thank you so much for participating. This will wrap up this symposium. So all of the presentations have been recorded, and the recordings will be up on the NNP in about 2 weeks from today. You'll get an email when those are up. You can see it on the website, and there will be an announcement on our social media as well. So it should be easy to find out when those have gone up. We encourage you to take a look at some that you missed or share them with friends. And thank you everyone so much for participating. Have a good evening.